Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'll be making a tier list of all David Lynch directed films as well as his television work on Twin Peaks. David Lynch is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, and like with my David Cronenberg tier list, this was a difficult task to accomplish. So many of his films mean so much to me, and they are almost all excellently made films. Making distinctions for this tier list was like pulling teeth at moments, but also allows me to talk about movies I love from a filmmaker that is a huge inspiration. So with that being said, let's get into the list. Starting in the S tier with his work on Twin Peaks, the original run of the show. If you take out the portion of Season 2 where Lynch left, this show is nearly perfect. A beautiful blend of soap operas and police procedurals with a masterful touch of the surreal and weird. This is my favorite show of all time. I love all the characters in the town as a whole. I could watch the people of Twin Peaks just going about their business for multiple seasons without any murder mystery and be perfectly content. What Lynch and Mark Frost created is a masterstroke that showcased what was possible within television, the transcendent peak that this show can achieve in episodes like the finale, or the episode that reveals the killer, or the pilot, are some of the most moving and emotionally effective works of art I have ever engaged with. This is a ranking of Lynch's work, so the inferior episodes of Season 2 that he wasn't involved with don't count against the show, even though I still enjoy them as silly as they get. I can't believe that this show ever aired on ABC in the 90s, though it's also not shocking it didn't last too long. I'm so glad that the executives forcing Lynch to reveal the killer didn't end his involvement with the series for good, as we continue to get work from him within this world. Next up in the S tier is The Return, which Lynch has described as one long film. However, I view it as a work of television still. Regardless of how it's classified, it's again one of the most affecting pieces of art I've ever experienced. This is a perfect modernization of the obsessions of Lynch's entire career. He is observing and commenting on nostalgia and television since Twin Peaks' exit from the small screen with remarkable insight. He is not giving us what we want or hope for. This is not the comfort food that we might have expected from a return to Twin Peaks. Instead, we get truly transcendent television from a master operating at the highest level. Though stylistically very different from the original series, it feels like a spiritual successor to that work, with even more daring chances taken and more experimental approaches being wielded. We do get to see our beloved characters, but never in a cheap, nostalgia-baiting way. These characters have changed. The years we were gone have left their toll. The weight of the events of the original series still weighs on them. We get to see these characters in a new light, with new arcs to experience. It sounds like this will be his final work as a director, which if that is true is a truly fitting end to a remarkable career. He and Mark Frost again showcase what the transcendent peak of television is, raising the bar for another generation of television to come. Finishing off the S tier will be, surprise, surprise, another piece of the Twin Peaks puzzle. Firewalk with Me is truly terrifying. It strips us of the comfort of the show, instead delving deep into the dark space that the show would occasionally dwell in. We get no respite from the bleak depiction of Laura's abuse in final days. This is Lynch operating in his most pure horror fashion. This is a uniquely uncomfortable movie, which makes it unsurprising it had such a negative reaction at its release. Fans of the show probably didn't have this in mind for a movie version. We lose all the quirky elements of the show, the comfortable small-town feel, in favor of a bleak, hellish depiction of domestic and sexual abuse of a daughter by her father. There is still a strong sense of mystery and weirdness that undergirds this pure horror that is depicted, which helps the movie add to the mystique of this world. This feels like pure Lynch in a way that is most affecting. The fact that this is the direction he took the world into is very appropriate. In a way, it helps bring back into focus the heart of the story, the death at the center of the show's narrative, through which every other storyline branches off. Some of the supernatural elements in the show seem to at times undermine the horror of the abuse at the core of Laura's story, but this recenters her in the narrative and brings us into her shoes. Yes, it's an uncomfortable watch, and probably not one that will leave you feeling satisfied, but the film works on such a deep emotional level and is another truly transcendent artwork from a master. Moving into the A tier, we have Mol Drive. Having to move this into the A tier was like pulling out my teeth. I felt that having this in the S tier, however, would probably be overkill. Not everything can be his best work. This is another great film that transcends the idea of genres, mixing noir, mystery, and horror into a surreal allegory about Hollywood's abuse of women is truly remarkable. Naomi Watts' performance in this film is also transcendent, and it's not a shock to see how this made her into a major star. The mystery and the non-linear structure of the narrative are much discussed. However, I don't think the film is too complicated to understand. Most of Lynch's work relies on emotional logic to carry the narrative, and he masterfully executes it in this film. Yes, I have a theory of what it all means, but solving the mystery is not the point. The point is the emotional experience. The reaction you have to his strong imagery, matched with the deeply moving music, is the point. Next up in the A tier is Blue Velvet. This is a film that showcased that Lynch was back. He was done with his attempts at mainstream success, opting instead to go all in on his style. After the failure of Dune, this is the ultimate palate cleanser, another deeply disturbing look at the underbelly of the idyllic American suburbs. We get some great performances in this film from Kyle MacLachlan, Laura Dern, Isabella Rossellini, and Dennis Hopper. The film has some super iconic imagery and has influenced so many other works of art that I love, including Silent Hill. Watching the movie is an experience, one that is again pretty uncomfortable, but also has transcendent moments of humanity nestled within it that serve as little miracles in a world of horror. Finishing off the A tier, we have The Elephant Man, which is one of Lynch's most accessible works and one that he found major mainstream success with. It's a beautifully crafted film with great cinematography, lighting, writing, costume and production design, along with excellent acting. Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt give remarkable performances, and again we get some truly transcendent moments of humanity nestled in a bleak story. This is a technically proficient film showcasing the high level that Lynch was directing at, even this early in his career. The only reason really that I put this in the A tier was simply due to this standing in contrast to work from him that felt more deeply personal and unique, more specific to his sensibility. While Elephant Man is great, it feels like the type of film that could have been made without him, unlike his more haunting personal visions in his other masterpieces. Moving into the B tier, we have his directorial debut, Eraserhead. This is a beautifully crafted, surreal midnight movie. You can see all the painstaking work put into the film. Lynch directs the hell out of it. It might not be as refined as his other work, but it feels pure Lynchian, like a direct link to his deepest fears and nightmares. Probably one of his least accessible works, but one that was my first exposure to his work. The fact that its powerful and impactful imagery drew me to his other works is something I will eternally be grateful for. Continuing with the B tier, we have one of his most accessible works, The Straight Story, a Disney film. This is a touching movie that some have called his least Lynchian work, but in my opinion, there are a lot of strong Lynchian elements throughout. Of course, it doesn't have as much of the horror or deep mystery, instead opting to delve into character psychology and in particular, human relationships that our main character has and develops on his journey. It's a sweet film, one that can be enjoyed by anybody. I find the performances across the board to be excellent and the narrative satisfying. Finishing up with B tier is Lost Highway. This is an interesting film, as it has a lot of surreal abstract imagery and narrative techniques, but all in service of a pretty simple story that isn't that complex or difficult to understand. Lynch described his obsession with the O.J. Simpson case at the time of the writing of this film, and how it informed the narrative. Understanding that gives away a lot of what the more abstract moments in the film represent, though there are still some mysterious, unexplainable elements as well. This is once again asking us to put aside the simple satisfaction of solving the mystery in favor of dwelling in the atmosphere and experiencing the film as a piece of art, letting the emotional experience serve as the core of the film. The movie has a great Patricia Arquette performance and is a lot of fun to watch, but it falls short of his truly transcendent work in other films. Moving into C tier, we have a really good film in Wild at Heart. I believe this film is underrated in general, though it still isn't among his best work. I love the central performances from Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage, and love the style of the film. This is a movie I haven't seen enough. A rewatch is definitely in order, but I remember being drawn to these ridiculous characters and finding some of the moments to be truly great, even if the whole is less coherent and interesting than his other work. We also get Inland Empire in the C tier. This is his ugliest looking film by far, in the moment of his career when he became obsessed with digital filmmaking. This is a string of vignettes that vary in effectiveness and struggle to cohere as well as his other work. There are some truly haunting moments in the movie, but other moments that are a bit boring in all honesty. It's a strange film because you can see the truly transcendent potential of the work, but it gets bogged down by too much other stuff to be as effective as it could be. There is potential if Lynch had trimmed the film down to its bare essentials for a haunting piece of nightmare fuel that could serve as a late career mirror to Eraserhead. Instead, this feels like one of his more self-indulgent works. I still enjoy it, however. In the D tier is his only truly bad film, Dune. Yes, there is some charm to the film, but overall it falls completely flat. It has some cool ideas and imagery, with some good performances and effects as well. However, the film doesn't work well structurally, with Lynch's vision feeling compromised and unfulfilled. It's an interesting curiosity at this point, but in the face of Denis Villeneuve's adaptations, this film will struggle to maintain relevance. So there you go, there's my tier list. Do you agree with my rankings? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you next week.